This is Zafu from Raid Leader Exchange. In this video, we're taking a look at the test of heroic Artificer Xy'mox in Sepulcher of the First Ones. This was a brave move by Blizzard, bringing back a boss that shortened the lifespan of mages and hunters everywhere just last year. Raid Leader Exchange is an open Discord server for raiders to discuss bosses in detail. It is full of great resources for each fight, both in testing and on live, as well as tips for raid leadership, role-specific information, and other useful stuff. If you haven't joined us, feel free to do so using the link in the description. Xy'mox is a two-phase fight, alternating between an active phase and a brief intermission, during which the boss is immune and adds spawn to attack the group. The boss enters this intermission at 80%, 50%, and 20% health. Tanks will be dealing with Glyph of Relocation roughly every 40 seconds. This debuff deals ticking arcane damage and pulls the entire raid to the tank upon expiry. This forces tanks to make smart decisions about where they drop the debuff, as players being gripped are still vulnerable to other mechanics in the fight such as traps and rings. Tanks will need to taunt swap, as the glyph increases arcane damage taken for the next minute upon expiry. The glyph also explodes for damage before it grips, meaning it cannot just be stacked on the raid. Throughout Phase 1, Xy'mox applies Hyperlight Spark, which now chains damage to players within 3 yards, forcing your raid to spread. Gunships will also bombard the platform throughout the encounter, so just dodge those as well. Forerunner rings are spawned by the central artifact roughly every 30 seconds. These ring moves across the play space and deal incredible damage to anyone caught in them. At first, they originate from the center and expand outwards. After your first intermission, they start at the edges and move in. Below 50%, 2 rings spawn in quick succession, moving both outwards and then inwards. And then sub 20%, 3 rings spawn. You are able to blink and teleport over these rings, or you can use the wormhole mechanic, which makes a return here. When positioning yourself, make sure that the tank debuff will not grip you back through a ring, as you will be killed quickly. Rings despawn if the boss transitions, so you don't need to hold DPS. Wormholes will spawn once per phase, and are used to avoid Forerunner rings first and foremost. One will always be applied to a tank. Place one in the middle and one at the edge of the encounter space. We found it helpful to rotate positions each phase to avoid areas of the room becoming cluttered with traps. Stasis traps also make a triumphant return, spawning next to random range players roughly every 30 seconds. Unlike their Nathria counterparts, these traps do not despawn when triggered, and persist for the entire fight. In addition, immunities cannot be used to clear the traps either. Players caught in the traps are still stunned, and the Dungeon Journal states that they also stun nearby players, although we didn't observe this behaviour during the test. On PTR, traps grew in size by about 1 yard in radius when activated, so moving just outside of the telegraph could catch people off guard. As they are now persistent, it is vital that the raid controls trap spawns, placing them at the edges and out of the way of portals and tank grips. At 80, 50 and 20%, Xy'mox channels on the relic in the centre, pausing all his abilities and becoming immune. He will also spawn 2 types of ad, the Hyperlight Enforcer and the Cartel Xy Plunderer. The Enforcers are your primary target, as these quickly gain energy and become ascended, dealing massive damage to the group and preventing CC if they get to that point. Plunderers, on the other hand, simply cast a ray which deals damage and reduces movement speed. All ads are susceptible to CC, and the Plunderers can't be interrupted, so stack them, stun them, and kill them. The journal also referenced some kind of Cartel Leader that should spawn in the center and put up shields. We didn't ever see that spawn on the PTR, but it's likely it will be there on live. That's all for this preview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.